Hello, welcome to our podcast. So this is Dr. Saritha, founder of Rest to Healthy Life. So I'm here with Dr. Rohini Vanga. She's
Hi.
a gastroenterologist. So you all know her. She's an instructor for S2 as well. So we both will do our first podcast here. So welcome. Okay, welcome Rohini.
Welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. So we are going to discuss today, like in general, about nutrition and fitness, and then some of the myths people have about nutrition and fitness in general. And most of the questions we got are from our S2 members, actually. Yeah. So the first thing people get really confused is basically what are macronutrients. That's the thing people get confused about. So I think we need to throw some light on what macronutrients are.
Yeah. So the macronutrients are the essential nutrients for our human bodies: proteins, carbohydrates, fats, and I would also add water, which is also one of the essential ingredient that makes up a healthy meal. So proteins are, as we know, proteins are made up of amino acids, and those are the building blocks of our system. And for any fitness and for overall health, to maintain muscle mass, protein is a very essential part. You cannot miss protein, and it has to be taken in sufficient amounts, otherwise it leads to loss of muscle mass.
Right.
And then comes to carbohydrates, right? So carbohydrates, they can come in simple carbohydrates or complex carbohydrates. And it's very important when you look at a healthy meal, always focus on complex carbohydrates, because they contain fiber in addition to the essential vitamins, minerals, as well as micronutrients.
True. Yeah.
So we cannot ignore eating carbohydrates as well, but we have to choose wisely what kind of carbohydrates we are
That
eating.
is so true. Yeah.
Otherwise, it also leads to accumulation of unnecessary fats and leading to other side effects.
True,
And
because sometimes when people want to lose weight, they absolutely don't want to eat any carbohydrates, and they go into this dieting mode. You're absolutely right. Like we really need carbohydrates. Yeah.
And then the fats, there are healthy fats and unhealthy fats in all the processed and ultra processed foods. We see so much of saturated fats, right?
True.
And also simple carbs. So it's always important to look at the ingredient and look at the labeling when we especially purchase any packaged foods. So when it comes to healthy fats or polyunsaturated fatty acids, which are very important to keep in mind, and then omega-3 fatty acids along with omega-6, and they have to be balanced out.
Exactly, that's true. Yeah, because like sometimes if there's some product with excess omega-6, that might lead to like little more inflammatory process, so you always have to have a balance. Sometimes I see people kind of like taking supplements with like more only like one kind of omega-6. So it's always like balance. You always have like balanced foods you need to focus on. So that's absolutely right. Yeah.
And hydration,
we
focus so much on hydration. It's all about water. You don't want to replace water with anything else like juices or carbonated beverages.
True.
People ignore the fact that, oh, I'm having fluids for the entire day.
Yes.
Like juices.
It's kind of like really good that you brought that up, because because I'm a nephrologist by profession, right? So people, when I say like how much fluids do you drink, I'm like, okay, I drink like all day, and then I ask them like what do you drink? Oh, I have like a 2-liter soda, and then I drink all day. Right. So it's important. What's important is like what you drink, right? And then it's really important to what you mentioned is like water is the best drink, and then there is no replacement for water. And some people like don't like the flavor of water, and then you always tell that like it's okay to put little mint or like
sliced cucumber, or you can always add, if you like citrus flavor, feel free to add lemon to it, add a teaspoonful of honey to it, or even a sliced orange to it. That really adds a flavor and gives a sense of freshness to the drink. And what is so essential that it's important for digestion. So you cannot replace water with any other fluids, what we mentioned, because it's very essential for digestion of all the
True.
macronutrients,
True.
right?
Yeah. And the other thing people keep asking is basically one question which comes up all the time is the timing of drinking water, and especially you're a gastroenterologist, so you might be able to answer. Now they say that if you drink water before eating, it will dilute the gastric juices, and then the food is not going to be digested. So can you speak something about that?
Sure. So that's not completely true, and it's very important that you drink water, and for anything, including water or a meal or a snack, it's important to space it out. So the concept of drinking water is just to space it out before a meal, and that's what it is. It doesn't really impact or compromise the digestion of foods that we eat. We always tell our kids not to drink water in the middle of the meal. The whole point is it just fills up the stomach. It doesn't meet. If you're having a wholesome, a healthy meal, then if you drink water, it's going to fill the stomach, and you may not finish the whole meal to meet the requirements for the nutrients. So other than that,
but it's not going to affect the digestion process. I just wanted to because it's a myth, so I just wanted to bring that point, because that's the whole point of our S2, right?
Yes.
And so that's about the macronutrients. And then the other important thing these days is basically the gut microbiome. And I think as a specialist you can talk about gut microbiome, what it is, and then how to maintain it.
Yeah, sure. Gut microbiome has been area of interest in many conditions, right? Not just for the digestive system, but also for your nervous system, for your brain health, and it also plays a role in some autoimmune conditions as well. So when it comes to gut microbiome, people ask about probiotics all the time, prebiotics all the time. So I would say you don't have to spend ton of money on buying on the shelf probiotics or prebiotics, because when you have a wholesome meal, you always make sure that your plate is colorful with all the necessary carbs, proteins, and fats, and that itself gives you all the probiotics that are needed to maintain gut harmony. When you say gut microbiome, our human body and our GI system, it harbors millions and billions of bacteria, which are good bacteria and bad bacteria, right? We always want to maintain that gut harmony and not to have the bad bacteria overcome the good bacteria. The only way to maintain that from nutrition aspect is by having a healthy, wholesome meal.
Right, yeah. And and then people also keep asking some good foods about what will increase good bacteria, dietary wise. Can you shed light into that?
So when you have for prebiotics, so prebiotics are the chemical substances that feed the probiotics. Probiotics are the live bacteria, and so for prebiotics, the semi-ripened banana, that's a good prebiotic, right? And when it comes to probiotics, simple homemade plain yogurt, it has lactobacillus, so it really helps also for someone who has lactose intolerance, they may develop bloating or sometimes diarrhea, right? And other examples for probiotics are kefir milk, sauerkraut that you can get over the counter, and even soaked nuts. When you soak them overnight, that also gives you
what do you think about the fermented foods in Indian diet, we eat a lot
the
of buttermilk, idli, those are we fermented, right? Do you think it's, I know we use a lot of rice and all that, but then overall, do you think that's going to add to the gut?
Definitely. That's a very good point actually brought up. So the fermentation definitely helps, certain chemical reactions that already
Right.
taken place
Right.
in the process, and it also promotes good gut bacteria.
Gut
And
bacteria.
when you look at our authentic Indian food
Yes.
like idli dosa,
Yeah.
and make it a point, or try at least to have the lentils with the skin, then that adds more
Yes.
fiber.
Yes.
And fiber promotes good gut harmony.
Yes.
It promotes
Yes. And
good
then
bacteria.
I think with the digestion of the fiber, you make this compound called butyrate, which is also really good for the gut.
Yeah.
And a lot of times there is this thing, basically butyrate, like people eat ghee because they want butyrate, but you don't really have to eat ghee for butyrate. There's a lot of other things like your milk products, like cheese has it, and fiber food, if you eat it, like your body automatically makes butyrate. So that's a very good basically overall rundown on the gut bacteria.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. And we also wanted to talk about, like, there's some people who were asking, we diet but we're not losing weight. So that's something we wanted to discuss also, right? So a lot of times when people say diet, they just go on this diet called, like, it's a restrictive diet. They just kind of stop eating, and then they go on this, like, kind of liquid diet, and then they restrict their, like, even protein intake, everything, and then they feel that, like, they should lose weight from that, and then it doesn't
It's
happen.
not sustainable.
It's not sustainable.
Yeah.
That's because initially they might be feeling that, like, they're losing weight because they lose the water content in the body, but then, like, it's going to come back eventually, and then they give up on it's because it's not sustainable doing that.
Yeah. And when like you said, when we tell them like diet, it just creates unnecessary panic and phobia.
Yes.
And I personally don't like the term diet. It's just a misleading term.
Right.
And that's what we try to tell all our members, right? It is to healthy life, is that when we say diet, don't get overwhelmed, or don't think that we are gonna enforce a restrictive diet plan.
Yeah.
What all we always tell them is to have a portion control.
Yes.
And my plate concept.
Right. It's my plate concept. And then, so like Rohini was talking about gut microbiome, all of us are built in a way that we all have different gut microbiomes, right? So we grew up in a certain way, in certain conditions in India, and then it can change over time depending on what we eat and everything. But then you suddenly change your diet to a different form completely, your gut might not accept it, right? So what S2 does it, like what anybody, like any good nutritionist, they do is they do portion control from what we normally eat, and then that's what we do. We make little bit changes, we add little things, we, like, take some things off, we help, weight loss in such way. Also, like, we don't do nutrition planning like specifically for, like, weight loss, like, in a crash manner. We do it for long term. We want you all to have like results long term, and we want it to be sustainable also. So that's why like crash diet plans don't work, because they are like short-lived, and then they are not consistent with your gut.
Yeah.
So you have to, there's this thing called, basically you need to have like kind of a sense of satisfaction for your brain also with what you do. You don't have to suffer day in and day out. You should be happy with what you do.
Yeah.
Also, adding physical fitness will help.
Yeah, definitely. And just to add on to the diet, always look for variety of wholesome foods, so that you don't get bored with just sticking to like 5 or 6 varieties, because that's what is important, even to maintain the gut harmony.
Yes,
and we can
yeah.
find so many choices. When you go to the grocery store, we always tell our patients, right?
Right.
So when you go to the aisle, don't stop at the first in front of the aisle at the store. Always go to behind the store, back of the store. That's where you find more natural foods and least processed foods.
Right. And then what Rohini mentioned about my plate is basically like there is So in my plate concept, there is like it's divided into 4 portions plus dairy. Dairy is optional depending on your choice. So it's divided into like whole grains, and then like vegetables and protein portion, and your fruits. Basically, that's how your plate should be divided, and and then the carbohydrates should be like complex carbohydrates coming from whole grains or vegetables. Then consistency is the other thing.
Right.
A lot of times when people are not consistent with our diet or exercise, then you'll not see the results, right? I mean, forget about weight loss or anything. For anything in life, if you're not consistent with what you do, dedication with what you do, it's very hard to get any success. So, and then it just goes the same with weight loss or getting stronger, whatever your fitness goals are.
Yeah.
That's what we would say. And so that's about it. And then the other thing is women picking weight. You have anything to say about
That's
that?
true. Yeah, I mean, I was always, I mean, I never held back in picking up weights, but I do know that, culturally, that, we are not allowed to pick weights, or, because it's not a women thing, right? But it's never such thing. And I can tell, myself that, since I've joined S2 and have been working out, my goal was never to lose weight. My goal is to get stronger and
Yes.
fitter. So I feel the strongest I have ever been.
Yes.
That's because of it's all comes for me. It comes down to strength training.
Yes.
So you have to pick up weights. You have to get stronger. That's
Yes,
the only
yeah.
way.
And then, when you actually do strength training or any form of exercise, like, there's this hormones called endorphins, which release in the body, which will actually make you feel so good about yourself, which will elevate your mood. And women picking weights or like men picking weights, basically it's going to help your muscles to get stronger if you eat appropriate amount of protein. And then a lot of times people think that, well, if you pick up more weight, you're going to become like very masculine. Actually, that's not true. In order to develop like six-pack or like whatever muscles, the weights we pick up, it's not enough at all. And then plus you need to have testosterone to build muscles like men, and we don't have testosterone to do that. So women becoming very masculine, I really don't think it's something which is like kind of realistic, unless you have like a big time hormonal. Some people do have hormonal problems and then they don't need to see a doctor. That's another thing. Like people who have really hormonal problems, they need to see the doctor, and then like seek advice, because some hormonal problems, like it's hard to lose weight, like hypothyroidism, and then if they have PCOS and hyperprolactinemia, all these they are real problems. It's not something you've eaten or you've done which cause you these problems. So PCOS can be caused by overeating sometimes, but most of these problems, when you have a medical problems, you have to seek doctor's help.
And in fact, for most of these problems that you mentioned, it's eating healthy and exercise.
Exercise is
right?
a treatment.
Actually,
that's the
that's
first
one of
treatment, along with
treatments.
like maybe a small dose of medicine, which doctors prescribe. Most of the people don't like to take medications.
Yeah.
That's another day for discussion for us.
Yes, definitely.
But I think for number one is eating healthy, and exercise is a like main things they need to be doing. That's a treatment doctors also recommend. And of course, like I mentioned before, consistency, discipline is the main thing.
Yeah.
Which goes.
Like you mentioned about picking up weights, the other biggest fear that we have experienced in the process of training members is not to pick up heavy weights. They have the fear of musculoskeletal injury. So we really encourage people out there, just try, and it's a gradual process.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid, and picking up weights really helps to strengthen your backbone, your skeletal system, and your balance,
bone density,
and bone density. Yes. So there are a lot of benefits. So never stop at a number.
Exactly.
Always challenge yourself.
It's like we always discuss, right? If you want to be stronger like you are now after 10 years, 15 years, And imagine our like parents and grandparents, you don't want, you want to be walking independently, doing your own stuff when you're 70 and 80 rather than depending on a cane. That's why you take care of yourself now, pick up more weights so that you will be more independent as you grow older.
Yeah,
that's the main point. So yeah, please visit our website healthylife.com and Instagram page and YouTube pages. And if you have any questions, please mention in the comments and subscribe to our channel. We are always there as your like doctor friends and of course as fitness trainers and nutritionists. We want to make change in our community, build our community stronger, fitter, and main thing is we want to make sure all the myths related to health, fitness, we have a sense of responsibility to clear those, because a lot of people rely on YouTube and believe whatever comes on YouTube. That's one of the reasons why we wanted to open the YouTube channel, because people blindly believe YouTube, and we are here with evidence. We will show everything with evidence. It's all evidence based. You can double check on everything. It's evidence based. We are all physicians in healthcare and we will bring it out. All right. Thank you for watching. Yes, say yes to healthy life. Thank you.